Hello students, welcome to online course of Mechanical Measurement and Metrology. Myself Abhishek Trivedi from Mechanical Engineering Department at LJ Institute of Engineering and Technology. We are discussing force, torque, pressure, strain and temperature measurement chapter, in which we have started the force measurement in the previous lecture. Today this is the second lecture of the chapter. In the previous lecture, what we have discussed, we have started with the concept of the force. What is force? So the force is the element, or we can say the force is the reason or the cause behind the change in the motion of the given component of the given element, that is known as a force. Then we have discussed the basic classification of force measuring instruments. Like the force measuring instrument can be classified in the two different categories. The first one, that is a direct method of measurement, and the indirect method of measurement. On this method of measurement, the instruments are totally based. So we can say that the force measuring instruments are those instruments which are directly based on the direct method of measurement and the indirect method of measurement. Then we have started with the analytical arm balance, in which we have discussed the equal arm balance and the unequal arm balance. In the particularly equal arm balance which we are using in the routine market, in the local market, there is a one drawback, that whatever the unknown mass is there, you are supposed to provide the known mass with the same amount, then and then you can measure the value of the force. Other than that, you are not supposed to measure the value of the force. Whereas in the unequal arm balance, you are not supposed to require the exact amount of the unknown mass with the value of compensation of known mass. You can suppose you are supposed to provided the unknown mass of, let's say, 5000 kg, then you are supposed to use 100 or 500 kg of the known mass, and you can balance the unknown mass by using the momentum balancing method. Then we have discussed the pendulum scale as well as spring scale. In the particularly pendulum scale, we are using a sector with the equalizer bar and the load acting strip. By using the concept of the sector motion and rack and pinion motion, we are supposed to find the value of the load which are placed in the unknown platform, and whatever the extension is been generated within the metal strip, it will directly transfer to the equalizer bar, and the equalizer bar will move the rack and pinion arrangement, and so on. The pinion shows the deflection of the pointer on the scale. Then we have discussed the spring scale. In the spring scale, we have discussed the basic equation F is equal to kx, where k, that is the spring's constant. We know the value of the k in terms of Newton per mm or Newton per meter, and the value of the x, that is the displacement of the spring, or we can say the basic deflection, linear deflection of the spring, which is also in terms of mm or meter. By using the equation, you can find the value of the force in Newton. Today we are going to discuss the proving ring. Then we are going to discuss the cantilever beam load cell and the different type of load cell. So today we are starting with the basic concept of the proving ring. The name suggests proving ring. The figure shows the constructional features of the proving ring. First of all, we are going to discuss the basic constructional elements of the proving ring, and then we are going to discuss the working of the proving ring, how it will work. Starting with the top end, this is external boss. External boss is the platform on which the unknown force is to be applied. Suppose I have to apply the, let's say, 100 kilonewton of the force, then the 100 kilonewton of the force is applied on the external boss. Below the external boss, there is the internal boss, which is used to transfer the load from the outer side to the inner side. In between the internal external boss, there is a metallic ring which is provided with the known diameter, let's say d, with the known cross sectional area. Here we have drawn the cross sectional area of the proving ring. We are using the rectangular cross sectional area for the ring. Below the internal boss, this particular portion is known as a reed. Reed means a transferring element which transfer the simply motion from the internal boss to the micrometer setup. Then the micrometer stylus has been provided below the micrometer. This is the micrometer stylus. Below it, we are supposed to provide the micrometer scale. The micrometer wheel has to be provided. Then the outer body, this particular outer ring, is known as a proving ring, which is made up of the steel material. We are using the steel because of the elasticity, modulus of elasticity of the steel. The modulus of elasticity of the steel is around 210 kilonewton per mm. So just because of this, we are using the steel as a basic material for the proving ring. Now we are going to discuss the initial condition and how it will work. Suppose in the very first case there is no any force available over the external boss. It means the shape of the ring is perfectly circular shape. Without any external force, the shape of the ring is perfectly circular. What we are supposed to do? We are simply turning the micrometer wheel and make a physical contact between this particular two probe. What we are supposed to do? We are simply making a physical contact between these two probe, and whatever the reading has been taken, we are selecting the reading as a R1, reading number 1. Then the next case, we are increasing the value of the force over here. We are also providing the force from the bottom side as well. Once the action of the force has been started, the ring will itself change its original shape. There might some chance that the ring will change its original shape and it might convert it into the oval shape like this. This is the shape of the ring. There is a chance of change of the shape between the rings. Once the total application of the force has been performed, then what we are supposed to check? Once again we are trying to turn the micrometer wheel. Again the wheel will be rotated and these both point will make a proper physical contact with each other again, and we are not down the reading of, let's say, R2. The reading R1 is higher than the value of R2 because in the first case the ring shows the circular shape, whereas in the second case the ring shows the oval shape. So just because of this we are supposed to find the difference of the reading, and according to the difference of the reading, what we have done, we have calibrated a chart in which the particular difference of the reading shows the particular force, the particular difference of the reading particularly showing the value of the force. So by using this particular method, what we are supposed to do, we are simply changing the value of R1 and R2 and we are going to check the value of the force applied over which, and then we have noted a table. So by using those particular table, you can check the value of the unknown force which is applied once the probing ring will be in the operation. So guys, this is the basic concept of the probing ring and how it will work. The figure shows the actual image of the probing ring, how the probing ring will work. What we are supposed to do, we have the steel structure of the probing ring. These are the external bars on which the force is to be applied. Here this is the micrometer wheel which makes a proper rotation, and below, above the micrometer wheel there is a stylus has been provided on which the physical contact is to be made. So this is the basic concept of the probing ring and how the probing ring will work. I hope you have properly cleared about the concept. Then the next one, that is the cantilever beam load cell. Cantilever beam load cell. As you all know, what do you mean by cantilever beam? Cantilever beam means the beam structure which is fixed at the one end and free at the another end to take the load. This particular structure is known as a cantilever beam. Suppose the load is to be acted on the end of the cantilever beam, there might some chance the beam will be slightly deflected. It generates the linear deflection, let's say delta, and the angular deflection, let's say theta. So there might some chance that the particular cantilever beam will shows the deflection of, let's say, theta and delta. By using the particular equations from the strength of material, we are finding the value of delta, and then from the value of the delta we can calculate the load which is applied over the cantilever beam. Let's say the load is P. What we are simply doing, we are simply using the basic formulas and then we are calculating the values. First of all, we are marking the position of the cantilever beam over here. Then whatever the linear deflection has been generated, we are just simply measure the linear displacement. Mark my word, we are simply measure the linear displacement which is generated due to the cantilever beam due to the loading effect at the point load at the end of the cantilever beam. So whatever the linear displacement has been generated, let's say delta max, what we are supposed to do, we are using a simple equation from the strength of material. Let's say delta max is equal to PL cube upon AE, where P, that is the load which is applied, L, that is the length of the cantilever beam, A, that is the area, cross sectional area, and E, that is the modulus of elasticity of the given material. Delta max, that is the maximum deflection which is generated due to the deflection of the beam because of the action of the load which is applied at the end of the cantilever beam. So by using such equation you can find the value of the P, because the P is an unknown parameter. If you know the value of delta max, which is the linear displacement, if you know all the values, let's say delta max, that is the linear displacement, length of the beam, cross sectional area of the beam, the modulus of elasticity of the material which is used to manufacturing the beam, then if you are supposed to know all this value, then the unknown value of P, the load which is acting on the cantilever beam load cell, you can find by the simple equation. So this is known as a cantilever beam load cell. Underline a word, load cell. Load cell means the instrument which is used to measure the force. The instrument which is used to measure the value of the force. This particular instrument is known as a load cell. This is the force. This particular instrument is known as a load cell. So whatever the machine, whatever the instruments are useful for the measurement of the force, all these machines, all those instruments are known as a load cell. They are the cells which are supposed to take the load and convert those load, or we can say convert those forces into the acceptable energy format, and particularly energy format, or we can say particularly whatever the physical quantity has been generated, we are simply measuring those particular physical quantity which are measurable. As you can check from the figure, in the cantilever beam load cell, what we are supposed to measure, we are simply measuring the value of delta max, because the linear dimensions are very easy to measure in comparison of the measurement of the forces. Here again what we are supposed to do, we are simply measuring the value of R1 and R2. We are simply measuring the linear measurement, let's say R1 and R2, and then we are calculating the value of the force by using the different standards, by using the different standard values. So guys, this is the basic concept of the cantilever beam load cell. I hope you are properly cleared about the cantilever beam load cell and the proving ring concept. The particularly cantilever beam load cell is useful for designing the mechanical tool holder. You have seen in the many mechanical industries the mechanical tool holder, or we can say mechanical workpiece holder. This is the mechanical workpiece holder. In many of the earth moving equipments we are using the same concept. This is the mechanical tool holder. You have seen the JCB machine and all the earth moving machines, they have to break the earth, they have to break many huge structures, and they require a lot of forces to bear those structures, to resist those structures and to break those structures. So to do so, you are supposed to require to design a proper tool, a proper holding device which can hold the particular tool and which can break the opposite structure. This particular structure has been used in the mechanical earth moving equipments, and this is known as the mechanical tool holder. As you can check from the figure, we have the pointed end, we have the cantilevered pointed end on which the one end is free and the other is free to take the load. This is the definition of the cantilever beam, and it is useful for moving the one object to another, from moving one object from the one place to the another place. Also the cantilever beam load cell is useful for movement of the garbage, for the movement of the raw material, for the movement of the inventory in the many workshop, in the many inventory houses which are very large. They are using such kind of mechanical tool holder, they are using such kind of AGVs, automated guided vehicles, and those automated guided vehicles are designed on the basis of such kind of load cell. From the load cell you can check whether the particular tool holder, or we can say whether the particular AGV can hold the load, or we can say can hold the such dead weight, hold the such dead forces over a long period of time, over a long distance or not, and accordingly we are designing those AGVs in a proper way, and we are also providing a proper pathway, which pathway is very minimum for the movement, as well as they are very much useful for transferring the goods from one position to another position, one location to another location. Okay guys, here we are winding our lecture. What we have discussed today, we have started with the brief revision of the force measuring instruments, then we have discussed the proving ring, concept of the proving ring, how the proving ring will be useful in the mechanical industries, and then we have discussed the cantilever beam load cell and what is the current application of the cantilever beam load cell in the mechanical industries as well. So From the next lecture, we are going to discuss the further load cell. Let's say we are going to discuss the hydraulic load cell, pneumatic load cell, and the strain gauge load cell. These three load cells and the cantilever beam are in your academic syllabus. So we are going to discuss all the load cells in detail. Till then, thank you.